The most interesting and most heartening thing about India is, India is not a homogeneous country. We are very. You lived there for a bit. You worked in India as well. You'd know it. It's a very diverse country. Everything changes in India every 200 kilometers. The language, the dialect, the culture, the cuisine. I think even probably the politics. So therefore, I think what needs to, come about, or what needs to happen, really, if you ask me, is the cohesion that is supposed to bring Indian states together. The cohesive force, where we learn from each other, where we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That is something that is, I believe, truly missing right now in India. I don't agree that there is a divide of sorts between the South and the North. Of course, South has progressed well. It's done probably far better than the rest of India. Like you said, 19% of India contributing to almost 38% of India's GDP is a significant number, without a question. But end of the day, I think all of us cutting across different parts of India are Indians first, especially, and we all work under the larger rubric of India. It is our Indianness that really brings us together, that really keeps us together, that really binds us together. Yes, like every family, we do have our issues. I'm sure, like every other family, even with 4 members or 5 members, or even a larger family, I think how family sits and resolves its issues. I'd say the topic of discussion, the topic of contention right now is redrawing the boundaries of the Lok Sabha seats within the states and within the country. Now, that is going to be a point of discussion and debate and a lot of dissent as well, because democracy is about these 3 Ds. Because I'm sure we'll get more opportunities in India to debate. To basically discuss with them. And I think Oxford India Forum probably is not the place where I would see, this being resolved ASAP. So yes, it is an issue, but I do believe there are several things that need to be addressed before we get to that. Without economic growth, without growing your economy, you would not be able to accomplish, any kind of objective that you may have for yourself. So I would say the first and foremost priority would be continuous economic growth and economic expansion, creation of wealth. And I think parallelly, a country like India, you cannot be oblivious to the fact that there is a huge population which basically needs support, and the vulnerable section in the country which needs a bit of handholding. So I'd say continue to push the economic agenda, continue to create jobs, continue to attract investments, continue to create wealth. Parallelly ensure that you take care of the most vulnerable. So I'd say a fine balance of welfare and economic growth is what we have seen in Telangana, and I think that has worked brilliantly. And we are not the West, we are not the UK or the US to be completely oblivious, to be completely ignorant of the asks, of the demands, of the population which is really yearning and which is really wanting a certain upliftment in terms of standards. So of course, healthcare, education would be priorities, but I would say you need economic growth to fund them. You'd need economic growth to make these happen, to effect this change. So a good combo of economics and welfare is what I would say. I was speaking to Satya Nadella, about 6 or 7 years ago at a conference like this. He said something interesting. The 80-20 principle that we all know. 80% of any firm's revenues come again from about 20% of its locations. Likewise, you talk to Preeta, she'll tell you something very similar. She might have hundreds of hospitals, but if you look at the revenue sources, revenue making centers, they would be about 20%. Likewise, even for a state or a country, your economic engines are your cities, large metropolises. So if you accuse me of being overtly loyal to Hyderabad or overtly aggressive on Hyderabad or the metro growth, etc., it was primarily with the motive to continue the growth story so that you can create the wealth and redistribute it elsewhere within the province. It's not like I was partisan to Hyderabad, therefore I want Hyderabad. I would like to believe otherwise. I think Hyderabadis were not gullible enough to fall for the opposition's fake promises. And I think the rural hinterland probably just fell for those promises. So I think, it all depends on what kind of spin you would like to give. If you talk to a spin doctor of mine, he would give you a certain spin. If you talk to a spin doctor of Congress or BJP, you'd hear otherwise. So like every other field, like Preeta was asked the same question as well, like every other field, women do have challenges without a question. But I think that's set to change now with the reservation that has already been passed, legislated. I think that is really going to be a game changer for our country. And one third is obviously by default, it is something that no party or no leader or no state has to, make it happen now. But if we are able to go beyond that one third, and if we're able to possibly push for 40%, I think most certainly I believe, in fact, Preeta was probably being a bit, probably holding back, I'd say. I can say this more openly. I think women do a lot of things better. You're more organized. You're probably a lot more focused. So I think India will see not just leapfrogging, but pole vaulting in the next decade after women start participating and women start becoming lawmakers and becoming change makers. So yes, we are going to witness that in our lifetime. There are two styles of thinking when it comes to this. There is this conservative thinking that you need to possibly not give money, but probably give them seeds or fertilizers or probably some sort of a input that really goes into agriculture. Then there is the other line of thought that, trust the farmer. Give it to them and leave it to them to decide on what will they actually be spending. And we chose the latter. The reason why I say this is because, what is economy ultimately? What is economic growth? It is the role of a rupee or a role of a dollar or a role of a pound. So as long as you're empowering your citizens, as long as you're empowering your state to make investments into capital infrastructure, and that's exactly why Telangana has moved from rank 14 in per capita to rank 1 in a span of 10 years. That's exactly why Telangana, which was only producing about 68 lakh metric tons of paddy in 2014, has been able to produce 3 crore tons of paddy in 2023. Trust your people. Trust your instincts. Trust your people. And that's what we've done. It worked. If you ask me, was there no deviation from the purpose? Probably there was, to an extent. I would not be able to quantify in terms of percentage. But by and large, was it successful? I'd say it's probably the most successful thing that we've done by depositing $9 billion into 7 million farmers' accounts and have changed the landscape, have changed the future of Telangana's agriculture for good. I think that's a fantastic feat, if you ask me.
So